any minute.
Can everyone that's not on the AWAC committee please mute themselves?
I guess maybe mute yourself.
Okay, let's start the committee meeting. I'm Dr. Casey Cole. I'm chairperson of AWAC. I'll go around and have the committee members introduce themselves. I'll have Katie start off.
Did you say me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm Katie Lisnick. I'm the executive director at Greater Androscoggin Humane Society in Lewiston, and am representing licensed animal shelters. Let's see. How about Kim next?
Hi, Kim McLaughlin, Town Clerk, Town of Orchard Beach, representing the town clerks. Jessica?
Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Matulis. I'm representing the veterinarians on the council. Let's do Rhonda.
Hi all, I'm Rhonda Stesick. I'm the director at the Animal Welfare Program for the state.
Sharon, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Sharon St. John, representing Federation of Maine Dog Clubs and licensed breeders.
I think that's everyone on the committee introduce themselves.
I'm here as well. It's Julianne Smith from Maine Farm Bureau, representing livestock.
Show conversation. Oh, okay. Okay. So you've been invited to the meeting.
Okay. So first on the agenda, we have the update from the Animal Welfare Program.
So I've just got a couple of things today. First being that I wanted to clarify a couple of things with regards to the presentation last week on Help Fix Me, and also outside of that, something that came up just this morning that I wanted to clarify. First is that though we use the term grant in the presentation, what we're really talking about is a request for funding. There is no thought or intent that we would burden veterinarians with any kind of formal grant application. But we do need information like where they're located, how many surgeries they can do, and their vendor numbers so they can be paid. The intent is to reduce paperwork drastically for all parties and to make things move quicker and get payments moved along. And also to make things easier for those requesting vouchers so that services can be delivered in a more efficient way. The item that I mentioned that came up this morning is that we had an email inquiry come to Katie Hansberry saying that there was information out there that cats were being, that it was suggested that cats were going to be excluded from Help Fix Me moving forward. Not sure where that came from. That's the first I heard of it. Haven't heard of any discussion or proposal or any thought that that's the case. So I wanted to clarify that for everyone who's here in case they've heard that. That's news to me. If someone's heard it, I don't know where it came from. And lastly, I'm going to make an attempt to share my screen and give you an update on the current funding. maybe. Y'all can let me know if you can see that. Are you able to see the Help Fix Me budget?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes.
I
Okay.
can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so just wanted to provide an update. This is as of this morning, or I'm sorry, as of the 10th. And this is expense and revenue and the current status. As you can see, we have about $61,000 in cash available. We are hoping by the end of the month for another $39,000 to come in. That is primarily from license plate revenue, which we have not received from Q1 yet. But as of now, we have more vouchers outstanding than we have cash available. That's the current status of the program. So that's where that's at this point. And that's all I've got for you. So next.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
And just to clarify a point with the Help Fix Me, we weren't changing how the programs run other than just how the money gets to the veterinarians. Was that basically my
That's
understanding?
primarily the case. We do have to do, well, I mean, it does change how it's run.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a third-party administrator and veterinarians will be paid differently. And we're hoping to also have that third-party administrator implement a much more efficient electronic voucher system. But I'm not sure what other ways of change people are thinking of that's happening. I mean, it's primarily a reduction of paperwork and trying to improve efficiency while we're in the process of having to do rulemaking anyway.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, the state polling commission for the horse polling at the fairs needs a member of AWAC on their board. This, when I was on AWAC years ago, we were going to appoint someone to the polling commission, and then the change of governorship happened, and then people weren't on AWAC anymore, and that kind of fell through. And then COVID happened. So now, is there anyone on AWAC right now interested in joining the polling commission to oversee it as the representative from AWAC?
What would be involved, Casey?
I had the information years ago. I think there's 4 or 5 meetings a year, and you have to go to a couple fairs.
Yeah, the only information that I received with that request that I passed on was actually there are 2 seats they're trying to fill. One is someone to be appointed by AWAC, and one is someone to be appointed by the Humane Societies. And what he said is they're only required to meet once a year, but they typically try to meet 5 or 6 times a year. And I believe they're doing that all electronically like everyone else is. And that's all the information that I have on it, that those 2 seats need to be filled.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago it didn't seem that heavily involved. I think there's more to do with AWAC than that. It's up to you, whoever wants to do it. Katie, you have a hand up.
I had my hand up from a question just for Rhonda per Help Fix Me, but I did just also see Katie Hansberry noted that she doesn't think that it has to be an actual AWAC member. It could just be someone that we recommend that isn't necessarily an AWAC board member, which maybe makes it a little easier. Who knows? I also didn't know that humane societies were supposed to be putting forward a candidate. So I'm glad to learn that. Thank you, Rhonda.
So, I mean, I can ask around. I know a few equine vets that might be interested in doing it and propose them to the committee next time we meet, if that sounds good to everyone else.
If you can't find anyone, Casey, I'd be willing to do that if that's
Perfect.
something,
Yeah.
can't find someone. I do
Okay.
fine as well, so.
Perfect. Okay.
Raise hand. Your hand is raised.
Public comments at the end. So we'll get to that after. Otherwise, the discussion is just for committee members right now. So moving on, we'll go to the subcommittee discussions. Where we left those off last time, we'll start with the ACO subcommittee.
We don't have an update. We tried to get a meeting scheduled in between last AWAC and this, and schedules did not allow that to happen. So we are still trying to pull together a meeting. We're going to include Garth, even though he's transitioning off, and hopefully include the ACO from Portland who had expressed interest. And we're also hopefully going to be inviting a couple guests, one from Hancock County representing some of the regionalization efforts that they are working on now, as well as a couple other, possibly Lincoln County and one from Cumberland County that's been doing some work with combining town efforts. So hopefully that'll be a really great meeting. We're trying to get it scheduled in between and can report out for the next AWAC session.
Awesome, thank you. And then the other committee is the dog licensing subcommittee. Do you guys have an update?
Right, so we had the same problem as far as scheduling goes. We weren't able to meet before this meeting, but there were a couple things I forgot to mention at the last meeting that we did discuss. And now that Kim's here, maybe she could help me a little bit as far as that goes. So we did talk about, and I don't know if we mentioned this last time, making the license a 3-year license possibly. So that was another point we mentioned, 3-year license versus having the shelter adoptions have some sort of maybe a possible lifetime license. So like they can pay kind of like, the fish and wildlife, you can have like a child can have like a lifetime license sort of thing. So something along those lines. Obviously those will be a little bit more expensive than the regular yearly license, but maybe would, involve more compliance there. We did also mention maybe having a way, and I don't know if this would be possible, but tracking dangerous or nuisance dogs. So again, I know a lot of them probably wouldn't be licensing the dogs, but we did kind of mention that briefly. And I think we talked about this last time, having the rabies. Again, that's why we mentioned the 3-year coinciding with the license as well. So, how rabies are usually every 3 year after their first year. So kind of trying to link that, especially if we're going to get the veterinarians involved somehow and make this online database that way. It would be easier from a veterinary standpoint, I know, if we could just kind of attach the expiration date of the 3-year licenses to the 3-year rabies kind of thing. So I think we talked about microchipping last time, kind of somehow linking that with that. And then possibly, and I know we kind of sort of joked about this, but it would kind of be neat to try to see if we could get some licensing with cats involved. Trying to get those cat owners involved, because I know a lot of them do have microchipping. So, especially the ones that come from shelters. So that was another thought, just to kind of increase revenue there. So Kim, I don't know if you could think of anything else that we talked about last time to add on there from that committee meeting.
Yeah, nope. That was great, Jessica. Exactly what we talked about. The 3-year is going to be a little bit difficult for the clerks to keep track of all that. And a lot of people are transient, especially in the southern part of the state. And so trying to track people moving around all the time. I think that's where the new system that we have will come into play. I know a lot of people would love to have the photograph of their animal, especially if we do cats too. Ability to have the photograph of the animal, and then if their dog or cat is lost or something, then we have a photo already. We can send it out to people to know, what's missing. Animal control officers will know from town to town what's missing. So, and then the transfer will also include the dangerous dogs. So as they get transferred, we'll be able to track them in the system as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I like those ideas. Especially the 3-year license. I think it will make things easier for people. Katie, you had your hand up?
I have, yes, I had my hand up. I have a question going back to Help Fix Me. I'll wait on that, but I do have a question about this. So the database that you're talking about, is that the one that AWP had been working on and is kind of reimagining, or is that a separate, that's the same one? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more thoughts? Okay. Next up, any new business, any new concerns from committee members? Yeah, Katie.
Hi, sorry. Hello again. Just a reminder what I mentioned last meeting, the webinar on Align Care is tomorrow. So that's happening at noontime tomorrow, Thursday the 13th. So, and I did send around, I'll try to send around that link again so folks have it. If anybody's interested in just joining and learning more about what Align Care is, if there may be some momentum or some benefit to trying to start something along those lines for Maine, that would be absolutely fantastic. We're also going to record the webinar, so folks that can't make it and do want to watch it, I'll get the recording out as soon as we have it available. But hopefully that'll be a really interesting session.
Katie, can you re-email that link to me? I don't think if I got it, I didn't see it in my email list, so.
Absolutely. I will, right after this meeting, I'll just send it out to everybody again, so you all have it in case you want to join.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And you said you had a question about the Help Fix Me program?
I do. I just had a question on kind of the status or current timeline for the rulemaking process.
So I have pushed, and I think Anne's on and she might be able to jump in, but we're currently dealing within the department with trying to get draft ready. But we will certainly notify as soon as that process formally starts. Anne, do you want to jump in and add anything there?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, we just collected the comments that we got. And so now we'll put it into the formal process and yeah, I think Rhonda and I were hoping to do that as soon as possible. So then it'll be into the public process once again and people can comment and go through the process. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other new thoughts, concerns from any committee members? Okay, moving on. We're at the public comment section now. So any comments from the public? Don Decker, you have your hand up.
Yes. I have a quick question about your superintendent, not the superintendents, but the polling commission. What's the criteria for meeting that? Now, I've been a licensed superintendent for many years. I've thought about trying to get on that, but I just need to know what I got to do to offer my help. Now, if you can enlighten me on that a little bit.
For the polling commission?
I work for a Skowhegan State Fair at the moment. I was
Yes.
with Union Fair for 9 years, Pittston Fair for 8 years. So, and I'm a licensed superintendent at Skowhegan right now.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, Well, up until just recently, I thought we chose someone from Animal Welfare Advisory Council for that position. So I guess we'll make an application process.
So the other, let me jump in there. So I think it works just like AWAC does, where there are designated seats for certain, I guess, demographics of participants so that they're sure they have a wide range of views. I don't know if there's one for superintendent specifically, but that would be by statute. And do you have any more information on that? The only reach out from me to me was from the Harness Commission, which asked for AWAC and the Humane Societies to put forward someone from their, to put forward someone that they nominated, I assume, to represent their interests on the commission.
Yeah, I would suggest, and we can get you, if you Dawn, if you put your email or something in the chat or get something, I think you should really communicate directly with the harness racing folks to determine. I think that would be Miles.
Greenleaf.
Yeah, yes, perfect. Yes, email Miles and tell him your interest, because he can give you the details that Rhonda's just talking about as far as what slots are available, and because you can, and you can also submit your resume or whatever letter of interest or something to him. But I would communicate with him.
Okay.
And see what's available, because he'll be able to be more informed about that. But yeah, if you've got his email, that's what I would suggest you do.
Okay.
Yeah, because all we're doing is nominating someone from us. That's all we're doing. We're not.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's who contacted me, and he just contacted me about those 2 seats.
Yeah,
all right, I have one more question. It has to deal with ACO, animal control. I'm animal control for the town of Canaan. But my question is, we have several people in the field right now that are animal control in my area, not in Canaan, a couple of neighboring towns, and they have a problem answering their calls, and I get some of these towns calling me for help.
Yeah, but what about the unqualified people?
I think what I'm thinking about is unqualified people that haven't had the online training and stuff. So I'm just kind of concerned about it.
Any thoughts on that, Rhonda?
Yeah, actually, if you can, I'll put my email in the comments, and you can email me the towns you're concerned about or things like that, and we can reach out and figure out whether they've had the training or where we're at with those officers.
I know this particular person hasn't had the training. What I'm getting at is right on the town line of Canaan. In Clinton, I've had an issue. People are calling me about. I had to cite a summons for a guy that refused to hook his, not hook, but control his chickens, ducks, geese, and goats. I had to quote a statute, Title 7, Section 4041 to him in a court issue to get it cleared up. I don't know if he thought I was fooling with him, but once I did that, he called me a few days later and wanted to know if I'd come up and inspect his kennels and stuff for his ducks and goats and all that stuff. He did a nice job taking care of them. But the same issue I have in the town of Clinton, which is right beside me, and they're running over his chickens and ducks and guinea hens and stuff. And I'm concerned about it because people are calling me, and I said, well, I'm not from Clinton. I don't do Clinton. So that's just one of the issues that I have.
Of many.
So I guess that's what I got for questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just working my way through the list. Sharon, you have your hand up?
Hi, yeah, thank you. I have a question and then just a quick comment about your licensing, what you're trying to do with licensing. I was chair of AWAC years ago, and we tried to do the same thing. We tried to raise the licensing fees and license cats as a way to raise money for the department. And the cat licensing was just, I mean, people came out in force against it because the question was, well, now ACOs are going to have to pay as much attention to cats as they do to dogs, which maybe they can and will do now, but back then that was out of the question. And the other thing is with the animal feed distribution fee being raised this year, I doubt the legislature will give you an increase in license fees. I mean, if you're tweaking the program for other reasons, then that's great. But it's just from my experience, that's what I've seen. And as far as the Help Fix Me program, so LD 1828, the intent of that was to change the administration of the program. It wasn't because the program was bad. A voucher program that covers the whole state and that allows people to use veterinarians across the state, that was good. It was the administration of the program, and it wasn't getting done, and it wasn't getting done properly. And I'm not blaming the administrator. I'm blaming her time and how all the other things she had to do during her work week, which included dog licensing issues and other, all the other inspections and licensing that had to be done. So to change the program so drastically, knowing, I mean, no veterinarian is going to bid on this except maybe the couple that do mobile clinics. And we're not going to have coverage across the state with this new program. Why would a veterinarian take the time to bid on this in order to get paid less than they can get paid right now, and take on these new clients that they're never going to see again? And why would any animal welfare organization bid to administer this? This program, the way it's designed now, doesn't make sense. The whole intent of LD 1828 was about the administration of the program, not the program itself. And some of the issues with the program itself was, the vets weren't getting paid enough. And I think that was one of the primary issues. But I just want to put that out there because I think we're going overboard with changing this program, and that was not the intent of the legislature. That's all.
So the program isn't being changed that people bid on it. We're just changing how the veterinarians are paid. It's still going to be vouchers that people redeem. We're just paying the veterinarians up front for a set number of spays and neuters.
I thought the veterinarians had to apply for a grant.
No. Rhonda actually said that at the beginning of the meeting that we're not doing that.
I missed the meeting. I apologize. Yeah. I came near the end. Okay, good. Shame on me for not being, for being tardy.
But the program isn't going to change how it's run for the people turning in the certificates. We're just trying to take the burden off the veterinarians a little bit to make it easier for them.
Okay, so they don't have to, it's not a grant program for veterinarians any longer?
It wasn't. As was explained last time, it's a simple request for funding. It's prepay us for the number of surgeries we can do. We obviously need to know where they're at and how many surgeries they can do and their vendor numbers so they can be paid, or however that's tracked. You need that tax ID information. But it was never intended as a grant process. I mean, it's technically a grant if you're prepaying for them to do things later, but not the kind of grant process that I think lots of folks involved in animal welfare think of when they think of a grant. It's money being prepaid for services to be provided. That's all.
The presentation last month stands. That's how you're doing it. Grant has a veterinarian has to request money, has to hold on to it, and then
Well, we can't prepay if they don't request money.
okay, so they
How,
have
I mean, how
it is
could
a
you?
grant. It is a grant program. You
In a
isn't that what
way,
you called it last time?
I'm sorry.
I'll have to look at the presentation again. I thought I saw the word grant on
The
it.
word grant was used. That is correct, because technically if you're prepaying somebody for those services, it becomes a grant for them to do it.
Okay.
But we're not talking about a significant process in order to get that prepayment. We're talking about basic information to get prepayment.
And one of the biggest complaints from veterinarians across the state is the time to get paid.
Right, and that would be
and this fixes that problem.
by the administration of the program, if the administration changed. I don't think it.
The payments in the program are inherent to how the money comes into the program, though, as well. Sometimes they have to wait for the money to come in. This way, we're paying right up front.
Okay. Just all my comments stand then. It is a grant program. I don't think you're going to get veterinarians to apply, and I'd not be surprised if you find anybody to administer it to. It wasn't the intent of the legislation.
Out of interest, Dr. Matolis, you're a veterinarian that does the Help Fix Me program. Would you apply to this to get money this way?
Yes, but we also do a lot of Help Fix Me's. I mean, I can tell you right now that my boss right now, he had mentioned, he's the one that actually does a lot of the processing part for the Help Fix Me's, luckily, and he is not a veterinarian, so he doesn't actually have to do the actual surgeries. But I know for a fact, if he had contacted the Help Fix Me directly and said, we could do 200 dog spays a year, and they had given us that money up front, it would be significantly easier for us to just process that than have to. Right now, what we have to do is, we have to send in the paperwork once the owner actually shows up. Sometimes they forget their paperwork and they brought the animal for the surgery. So there's a lot of that. And then they send it back in. So I guess I assume, and this is just an assumption, that the goal of trying to do it this way would encourage veterinarians who normally don't do the Help Fix Me to volunteer and say, hey, maybe we could do 10 cat spays a year or something like that, something to just kind of help maybe divvy up the strain that some of us are taking for doing these Help Fix Me's, because as you guys have mentioned, obviously it is not a moneymaker for veterinarians. We lose a lot of money on these Help Fix Me's. We actually we usually end up covering a lot of the costs that Help Fix Me doesn't cover for these surgeries. And I'm hoping that would kind of, try to encourage a lot of other veterinarians who don't normally do them to at least do some to try to help out their community. Because at the end of the day, I think most of us want to do good things for our community. We want to help volunteer. We want to do good. And so I think, if there was more of a guarantee that they will at least get something for it, then maybe some other veterinarians who don't normally do it would be more willing to do it. If they had, they said that they were doing 20 a year, then they could kind of, increase compliance there, I guess is what maybe the organization's trying to do. Is that right, Rhonda? I don't know. I mean, that's how I look at it, but we do a lot of Help Fix Me's. We do at least 2 or 3 a day. So
we basically looked at what's the easiest way to remove the administrative burden on the veterinarians. And this also relieves them of submitting invoice by invoice by invoice and just does a final report when the funds are used. That doesn't require ongoing submission of all the information and all the vouchers and things like that, and it would track vouchers better. again, looking at the administrative burden, both on the administrator and on the veterinarians, and trying to reduce that amount of paperwork, et cetera.
Well, one of the other big issues was the clients themselves. You know, it's not always a demographic that can, well, it was very difficult for them before. A lot of people weren't literate even. So I just, how are they going to find this program? How are they going to, you know, find a vet? They're going to start calling around vets, I guess.
I don't know why this would be any different from the voucher, the pet owners end. The only difference would be that those who are able to request electronically and receive electronically will be doing that much more quickly. It also leaves the option for those that need step-by-step help and cannot do things electronically. It leaves a paper option. So that we do have that option at the end for those that really need that assistance. What we do find is that, you know, many people have access, either themselves or family members, to be able to get that electronically. But there's always the mail for those that don't. But for those that can, it helps things improve the time process and be more efficient.
And I will say, from a veterinary standpoint, you know, I do have many clients that come in that say, you know, well, I can't afford to spay or neuter my dog or cat right now. Like, is there some options for me? Because a lot of them don't know about the Help Fix Me program. And we usually educate our clients about here, you know, we go through the online process with them. Because again, we do a lot of them. So we, you know, my receptionists are excellent with, you know, giving them the links or even helping them fill out the application if, like you said, they are illiterate or they have a hard time going through the process. We do tend to take a lot of time and educate them about that. So we give them other options as well as Clio Fund too. So, you know, I think it definitely comes upon, you know, the owners reaching out to, even if it is just their veterinarian and saying, hey, you know, are there other options? You know, I think most veterinarians out there are willing to give people options because at the end of the day, we all want them to just be spayed or neutered. We don't care how they get spayed or neutered. So.
Jessica, Dr. What's your last name?
Matulis.
Matulis, Dr. Matulis. I want to call you doctor because I just want to thank you for being one of the vets that really does, you know, take the Help Fix Me vouchers and cares. Dr. Del Borgo, who was on before you on AWAC. Yeah, she was wonderful
was
as
great.
well.
Yeah, she was awesome.
She's dearly missed.
Casey, this is Kim. Can I just answer Sharon's other comment on the cat registration?
Yep.
So on the cat registration, I don't think, and Jessica can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think on the cat registration, we were talking about making it voluntary. It would be a nightmare for the animal control officers to do anything with mandatory cat licensing. You know, one is the cat a stray just because you fed it at its back door. Now, do you own it? Do you have to register it? But I thought, personally, I was thinking more in line, I don't have a cat, but I assume you can microchip cats like you do dogs. A lot of people, I think, would probably be microchipping. I was just thinking of it as part of the new database we get, that they would pay and they would have that put into the database. So if an animal control officer came across that cat, heaven forbid something happens to the cat, or it is a stray cat at somebody else's house, they can query up the microchip number and look it up in the system and match the cat with the microchip number. I know there's a database for that, but sometimes people don't always keep that up to date. So I just thought that that might be an option on the cats.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't anti-licensing cat. I was just kind of warning you.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, we're definitely thinking voluntary for sure, because I have plenty of, I would lovingly call them crazy cat clients who would be a little offended that they can't license their cats. So I definitely think that it would be a great option to have as a voluntary thing. Absolutely.
And then the 3-year license, that would be a lot of questions as far as the person that has the dog, if they get a refund, because I know that's the first thing that people ask me, if they have to give away the dog 2 months after they register the dog, or something happens to the dog, can I have the rest of my money back for the rest of the year? you know, so I got a feeling on a 3-year license, we'll get a lot of pushback on that. We'd have to figure out how we would do a refund process or not, or options. And so it's still a work in progress. I know the new database will certainly help at some point, but that is also work in progress.
Thank you.
Katie Lisnick, you had your hand up.
I did. It was just a clarifying question, which Rhonda or Ann may know. Is the once the rules are drafted for Help Fix Me, is it, I believe it's a 30-day public comment period. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Once the rules are drafted, then we set up a public hearing, either virtual or in person. Probably have one in person for this rule, and then so we'll accept comments. And it's if I remember correctly, it's sort of once we put the rule out, I think we have to have the hearing within 30 days or so in that period, like you suggested. And then we usually allow for written, and then throughout that period, you can provide written comments. But after the hearing, we usually allow another 10 days for written comments, or a period after the hearing for written comments. Yeah. So that's the public comment period is about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next person with their hand up is Katie Hansberry.
Hello, thank you. I'll be quick. I just wanted to share with respect to the polling commission request. So Rhonda, thanks for reaching out about that. So the Maine Federation of Humane Societies board, we will chat about that and let you know who we can come up with. And I've got someone in mind that I think might be a good resource for us to try and find someone. I might also reach out to, I just remembered former Senator Carpenter. He was involved, and I know he spoke to me about the polling commission at some point. So I might reach out to him. He might be able to provide me with a little more information about what it would entail for someone filling the animal welfare seat and that sort of thing. So Maine Fed doesn't have another board meeting scheduled for a few weeks, but did Miles provide any sort of timeline or deadline, Rhonda?
He did not. He just asked if I could reach out to folks and let them know that they'd like a nomination. If you don't have, I think you have his email. Feel free to reach out to him on timeline.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just add, Katie, that I think there's a lot of push right now to fill a lot of committees. So it's kind of we're getting asked for a lot of those right now.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, and I'll share if I get more information from anyone. I'll be sure to share it as far as like time commitment or anything like that. So, and then I just wanted to ask you a quick question about the 2 subcommittees. When those folks are meetings, are those closed meetings, Casey, or can other folks participate? I think I see Jessica nodding yes, that they are open. If somebody else wanted to participate, I'm just curious. I didn't know what the setup was for that.
The licensing one, we did post it on the animal welfare website. So I believe that was posted. Yeah. We didn't have very many people show up. I think there was one lady, I mean, it might be Stacy actually has her hand raised. I think there was a couple outside of AWAC, but yes, it was definitely public.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. So I'll just I can keep my eye out on the AWAC page. That's where those meetings would also be posted, it sounds like. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then Stacy Ober, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Casey. Yes, Stacy Ober with the American Kennel Club. I just wanted to share and acknowledge that October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the AKC Humane Fund has a grant that provides money to domestic violence shelters that want to create an accommodation for those who are transitioning into a different living environment so they can bring the family pet with them. knowing that sometimes the family pet can be used as a tool of intimidation or result in individuals not leaving a violent situation for fear of leaving the family pet. So the AKC Humane Fund has a grant. It runs continual. It's not a end date or whatnot, but I just thought I would mention it given that it's October and it's National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stacey, that information is on the website. Sorry, Casey.
Oh, no.
It is, yeah. You can Google AKC Humane Fund Domestic Violence Grant, and it should come right up. It's a very easy application form.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Katie,
Casey, Stacey, I had a quick follow-up for you. When you said shelters, are the grants for human shelters that want to make an accommodation, or could it also be for an animal shelter that wants to set up a program where they could potentially provide temporary housing for someone? I'm just curious how it's distinguished and who it's for.
That's an excellent question. My understanding is that it has been given to domestic violence shelters themselves, but I know
Okay.
I've spoken with the staff contact for that grant, and she's very open to feedback and flexibility around, what in fact would best meet the need. So, yeah, if I would even, venture to guess that if you submitted something, you'd hear back from them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
thank you. Any more public comment? Okay, next meeting date. I have down November 2nd. Is that going to be too soon from now for people, or do we think that's enough time between meeting dates?
I think that'll be all right. That'll kind of help. Katie and I will kind of get going on the subcommittees there and see if we can get everyone to coordinate a time where we can meet and get some more progress on those. So I think that would be good.
Okay, we'll keep that next meeting.
Casey, this is Kim. I may not be able to make it on the 2nd, only because we are now leading up to a very contentious election, and I barely made it today. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay then. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.